Good afternoon, everyone. I brought my son to donate today, and I have a really weird lighting on me because some really weird lighting because I'm not fully in the sun. But anyway, I thought I'd make a real quick video while he's donating. I say real quick, it might not be real quick, but anyway, this one's going to be about jobs that I wanted to do when I was a teenager. I think I mentioned whenever I posted my last video that was what I was planning to do the next one on. But before I get started, I wanted to say that I hope everyone is doing well today, wherever you are. Hope all is going well for you, and let you all know that I did finally get my car to going. My oldest son really, he paid for the part in order to fix the car, and he did most of the most of the work on it. I assisted a little bit, but yeah, he did most of that. So hope all's going well for you guys, and just keep hanging in there because that's all we can do. So I wanted to talk real quick about the jobs that I wanted to have when I was a teenager. There were several things that I became interested in. I'm going to say between the ages of like 15 and 18, probably even 19-ish. I mean, really, most of these things are things that I'm still interested in and would love to do sometime. Part of them I have tried, at least to a degree, and others I've not tried at all. So, anyway, the first one of those was accounting. When I was a junior in high school, I took an accounting class, and I immediately fell in love with it and decided that that was what I wanted to do. I'm sorry, I was just reading my little note here. But yeah, so what I wanted to do with accounting, what I decided when I was taking the class, I wanted to be a corporate accountant. I had an uncle who was a corporate accountant for a company, and I thought that he loved what he did. However, when I did mention to him after I had made that decision, well, I think I had already told my parents and my gramps and granny that that's what I was wanting to do, which is my dad and this particular uncle's parents. But anyway, I think I had already told them that that's what I was wanting to do, was be a corporate accountant. And pretty sure one of them was like, hey, why don't you tell Uncle Lauren what it is you want to do? So I told him, and he was like, no, you don't want to do that. He's like, he said, like, the majority of the year it's laid back and you'll get bored because there's not much of anything to do, and you might not make much money during those times of the year because of the fact that there's not much to do. And then at tax time, it's extremely stressful and there's like way too much to do is basically what he told me about it. So he greatly tried to discourage me from doing that, but it was what I had decided that I really, really wanted to do. And I started making plans to go to college. I looked into schools that offered the major, and I found one that I really liked. I decided I was going to start studying it the spring after I graduated and work as a waitress to help pay for my school. However, I ended up meeting someone, falling in love, getting married, and having 3 awesome kids instead. Totally don't regret that. The kids are great. The marriage over divorce. But he wasn't as great as I thought he was, as often ends up happening. But the kids are awesome, and I wouldn't take them back. You wouldn't, I love the fact that I have them. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, so yeah, I did that. But then I studied accounting again. I believe it was from November of 2018 until April or May maybe of 2019. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue studying it. This was at the master's level. I was studying accounting because I already had a bachelor's degree. But yeah, I wasn't able to continue studying it because the school that I went to before that one, I still owed some money to for not dropping some classes as soon as I should have because I was majorly stressed out. But anyway, so yeah, I was unable to do that. And my plan with that was that I wanted to work for a local corporation. It's in Oklahoma City. It's one that I was really interested in working for quite some time. They have pretty good benefits and they pay decent. So that's what I was wanting to do with that degree. But as I said, I was unable to continue those courses because I owed money to my previous school. But I was actually going to look to see for sure. I took 4 or 5 classes though, and I would still love to finish that degree someday. I know that I took mathematics and statistics for business. It was like my 3rd statistics class since college. But yeah, I remember that I took that one. I took principles in accounting. I took economics. I started to say ethics. I took economics. And I want to say that I took another accounting course. I think it was accounting research or something like that, I think, that I took. But yeah, I was going to look them up and see what it was that I took exactly, but I forgot. Go figure. But anyway, and the second one I wanted to talk about that I wanted to do was being an architect. When I was about 15, I learned that I could actually draw pretty decently, as long as I was regularly doing it, and trying, like if I wasn't just goofing around. I used to draw these little pictures of Snoopy, and I used the box technique to draw a smaller version of a picture that was in one of my dad's old magazines of a cowboy sitting on a wooden fence along with a horse and a cow. Or actually, they were standing behind it, leaning on it, was what it was. But yeah, it was a cowboy, a horse, and a cow. I did that, and then I used tracing paper to trace over a picture that was in a magazine, or not a magazine, a book that I had, a picture of a bull. And then after I traced over it using the tracing paper, I took a larger piece of paper and drew it freestyle, and I did that when I want to say 16, might have been 15. But anyway, I learned that I, was fairly good at drawing, and I enjoyed it. And then I checked some books out from the library on architecture, like architectural styles and some of the philosophies, if you will, behind architecture. And I instantly became fascinated with it. It's just, especially the fronts of the building or the facades. A facade is like the front of the building, or one side that's particularly fancy in comparison to the others, is generally what a facade is. But yeah, I was fascinated with those things, and I thought, maybe one day I could design something like that, and it would be really, really, really cool. So I wanted to study architecture. Like I said, probably around the time I was 15, 16, maybe even up to 17. But then I decided, I don't know, I decided. I never did attempt to pursue it. Met a guy, got married. Well, actually, I had a daughter when I was still in high school. Got a job, got married, all that stuff. But yeah, so I never did pursue that one at all. I got out of the habit of drawing. I've drawn a couple of times since then, but nothing regularly. So I don't feel like I'm as good at it as I was then. Plus, I have psoriatic arthritis, so yeah, that's a pain in the derriere. Interesting. Anyway, so yeah, sorry, I'm allowing myself to be distracted by my surroundings. No. Anyway, as I said about the accounting thing, I was planning to work as a waitress to help to pay for my schooling. But I'm going to let my seat back a little bit. I was still interested in driving a truck and waitressing whenever I was a teenager, even if I pursued one or the other or both of those jobs as a means to reach my dreams of doing another job, to be able to pay for schooling or training or whatnot, in order to do the other jobs. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I said on the one about childhood, what I wanted to do when I was a kid, the jobs I wanted to do when I was a kid, that I did wait tables for, I believe it was like 2 years. Might have been more. I don't know. I started doing it when I was like 18, I'm pretty sure, or maybe shortly before my 18th birthday, or trying to remember now. Maybe I started doing it when I was 17. I can't remember for sure. But anyway, yeah, I got married when I was 19, and I know for a fact that I did it up until the time that I got married. I didn't do it for very long after that, I don't think. I'm trying to get rid of this sun that's shining on me. It's going to make my face look really weird in these videos, but oh well. Whatever, it is what it is. So, another profession that I became intrigued with when I was a teenager, this one possibly even when I was younger than a teenager, because I did this quite a bit when I was a child, was singing. I always enjoyed singing, and I dreamed of being the next Tanya Tucker, Dolly Parton, or Diana Ross. I was a huge Diana Ross fan when I was younger, as well as a huge Tanya Tucker fan and Dolly Parton fan. Several other female singers that I was a big fan of, and I was like, I want to do what they're doing, entertain people, make people happy by singing, or perhaps make them cry if I'm singing the right thing or the wrong thing, as the case may be. But part of what sparked my fascination in that was that I sang in Christmas programs. I guess you could say I guess people go there. But anyway, I sang in Christmas programs and at Bible camp with my sisters and some of our friends and one of our cousins. And when I mostly did whenever I was younger. I don't really remember even going to Bible camp after I was probably 12 or 13. I think I was 13 the last year that I went. Oh wait, no, that's not true. I did go. I also went when I can't recall if it was 15 or 16, but yeah, I did go to another one later on. But anyway, point is I did the Christmas programs whenever I was younger, and most of the church camp singing stuff when I was younger as well. And when I became, I want to say I was 14, my sisters and I started going to a Baptist church in our hometown, and we all joined the teen group choir, and we went on a choir tour. We did Christmas programs with them, and I was really enjoying singing, so that's something I wanted to do, And as much as I enjoyed singing, I never tried to follow that dream because I got busy with life, I guess is how you would say it. It's like I already had kids, and I could have sang at, let's get real. I grew up next to Eureka Springs. Realistically, I could have found someone. We could have made a band and could have played at local hotels and restaurants and stuff, but I just didn't end up doing that. So the other one I wanted to talk about that I really wanted to do when I was a teenager was being an archeologist. Now, when I was a teenager back in the 80s, at least one of the Indiana Jones movies came out. I believe it was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I could be wrong about that. as well as Romancing the Stone. If you haven't seen Romancing the Stone, you really need to see it. If you haven't seen the Indiana Jones movies, which I doubt that there's anyone that hasn't, but if you haven't, you should really watch them. Indiana Jones, of course, was an archaeologist. I don't recall that Romancing the Stone involved an archaeologist per se, but it's about an author who had to find a map, like someone, I want to say, kidnapped her and was threatening to kill her if she couldn't find this map that they wanted her to find. So in order for her to find the map, she had to do archaeology type stuff, you know. But it's a really good movie. And those are basically the things that sparked my interest in archaeology. What I wrote here in my notes is, of course I was interested in being an archaeologist when I was a teen, because I was a teen in the 80s, and like I said, Indiana Jones, Romancing the Stone. I'm sure there were some other archaeology-based movies. Now I'm trying to think of when The Mummy came out. That probably, that's kind of more one to deter me from wanting to be an archaeologist, which some of the Indiana Jones ones were like, if that's going to happen, maybe I don't want to be an archaeologist. But I thought that it would be cool to, you know, sift through the ruins of civilizations long lost and discover things that they did, like practices they had, the types of homes that they had, the type of clothes that they wore, the dishes they used, how they cooked their food, you know, all that sort of stuff. I was really fascinated with that. But the closest I came to pursuing archaeology was when I took courses in museum studies, which I think that I mentioned before. But yeah, I took courses in history, museum studies, because I was interested in perhaps, well, I'll talk about that whenever I talk about careers that I was interested in later in life and why I chose to do that. But anyway, but yeah, the museum studies classes, even though they weren't per se archaeology based, it was the closest thing that the school that I was going to at the time offered. Like the closest they came to offering archaeology classes was museum studies, and the museum studies courses were extremely interesting. Now, I didn't write down notes on this, but when I was writing down my notes about jobs that I became really interested in when I was a teen, it made me realize that there were a couple of ones that I really wanted to do when I was a young child that I forgot whenever I was making that video. So the first one of those, it's the one that I really wanted to do, and I need to get me another clarinet, was to be a clarinetist. For those of you who may not know what being a clarinetist is, I probably just told you for one thing, but a clarinetist is somebody who plays a clarinet, generally professionally. And the reason I decided that I wanted to become a clarinetist was because I was watching a lot of older TV shows with my dad. I was watching them in the 80s, and they were shows that were like from, say, the 30s through the 60s, a lot of them. And one of the shows that we watched was the Benny Goodman Show. If you don't know who he is, look him up. But that man could really play a clarinet, and I loved watching him perform when he played the clarinet. And I was like, that is something that I really want to do. I want to be the next Benny Goodman. And unfortunately, when I would practice the clarinet, my mom, like, she likes to go back and talk about, oh, Trina was really good on the clarinet whenever she started it for some reason. It's not like she did all that squawking and yawking and blah blah like you did. Well, for one thing, when I started band, we started in the 3rd grade, and I think when she started, they started in the 5th grade. So she was older, and her mouth muscles were different than mine were when I started. I might not have started, we might have done in the 5th grade, they might have done in the 6th, I don't remember, but they started at least a year later than we did. But there were exercises that we were supposed to do that were in our books and that were taught to us by our band director that were to help to work the muscles around our mouth, that were I can't even think of what, anyway, we were supposed to blow into the clarinet certain ways that you aren't supposed to play it, and then play it the way that you're supposed to play it, and such, as that was what they told us to do, so that we would do better, so we'd sound better at it once we did it, or whatever. I can't think of how I'm trying to word this, but anyway, I don't think they did stuff like that with the director that she had. I don't think did stuff like that. I want to say that the first band director I had was Mr. Campbell. I could be wrong about that, but we actually did a little exercise too whenever, like, when we went to, like, find out what instrument we were going to play, talk to the band director about what instrument we wanted to play and were going to play and stuff like that. And my parents had discussed me playing the clarinet, and that was the instrument that I was going to play. But Mr. Campbell had us take a little piece of paper, put it up on the wall, as one of the tests that they had us do, and go, make a sound, like you do for a brass instrument, and hold the piece of paper on the wall. And he was recording how long that we could hold the piece of paper steady on the wall, and I actually ended up winning that thing. So he tried to talk my mom into letting me do a tuba or a trombone or a trumpet. He's like, the trombone's pretty easy to learn, they're all fairly easy to learn. And she was like, no, she wants to play the clarinet, she's going to play the clarinet, which I was fine with because that's what I wanted to play. But anyway, when I would try to practice, which we were supposed to practice, I don't remember, at least twice a day, I think it was 2 or 3 times a day, something like that. And my mom would go, cut out that racket. Why are you making all that noise in there? So, like, what was I supposed to do? Keep making racket and listen to her yell at me all the time? We could stay at the band building and practice after school, but I had a younger brother and sister. Like, we could stay there, I want to say, for at least 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. But I had a younger brother and sister who I usually watched after I got home from school, so it wasn't like I could really do that. And I could practice some when I was watching them, but it's not like I could sit there and play for 2.5 hours while I'm watching them, and them just sit there and want to listen to me learn to play the clarinet. Actually, when I first started playing, now that I think about it, I didn't even have the little brother. But yeah, that was when I got older. So I didn't become as good at playing the clarinet as I had wished I would. There was a girl that I was in band with who could just listen to a song and play the song by ear on her clarinet, and that's the person I wanted to be. She knew how to do all the notes the right way the first time and everything, and I really, really, really wanted to be that person. And to me, the thing that was worst about it was she wanted to be in band because she loved music, but she had no intention of ever pursuing a career playing a clarinet, and I wanted to be in an orchestra. I wanted to play the clarinet in an orchestra. But, and ever since I was since shortly after I got divorced, I'm going to go with about 28, 29, I've wanted to get myself another clarinet and start playing it again, but I haven't done that yet. But also when I was older and in band, my band director, I got interested in the oboe shortly after I started playing the clarinet. I wanted to learn to play the oboe, and they had one that no one was using. They had no oboist, and the band director asked my mom, like, he had to have my mom's permission for me to change to a different instrument. So he asked her if she'd be okay with me playing the oboe, and she's like, no, she wanted to play the clarinet. She's gonna play the clarinet. And then he tried to talk her into letting me play the bass clarinet, which looks a fair amount like a bass saxophone, but sounds quite a bit different. Or the bassoon, which is like an oboe, only a lot bigger, like a bass version of the oboe. And she was like, no, she wants to play the clarinet. She's gonna play the clarinet. So, I didn't get any variance in instruments at all, which may or may not have helped. They had these things that were called solo and ensemble, that you could prepare a piece with some friends, or you could prepare it by yourself, and you could go to, when we went to the concert competitions, we could do those things also and try to win, try to place and win something. And one year I played a solo, I think it was The Rose, I believe was what I played. I played a solo, and I couldn't believe the amount of stage fright that I had. But yeah, because you're like, you do solo, you're up there all by yourself. So like, yeah, I was terrified, and partly for that reason didn't do as well on it as I had done the many, many, many times that I rehearsed it. And after that year, my mom was like, oh, you don't need to do a solo or ensemble anymore. And so I had a hard time being able to find the time to practice. I tried to practice during lunch. There were two of my friends who were in band that wanted me to do an ensemble with them. And I don't remember what the reason was, but for some reason I ended up not even being able to go to our concert competition that year. So one of my other friends took my place. I can't recall what the deal was, why I couldn't go, because I don't think we had to pay anything to go, just money for your lunch or take your lunch or whatever. But yeah, so I would like to try and do that sometime again, but who knows whether I will or not. And the other two that I was interested in as a child kind of go hand in hand, and I was offered the opportunity to do one of them one time, but it was being a ballerina or a gymnast. I'd watch the Olympics on TV and the gymnast on there and tumbling around and doing their little dance routines and stuff, and I was like, oh wow, that looks like it'd be a lot of fun. And I would watch various different dance routines on like the public television network, like Swan Lake, and that might be the only one that I can remember watching, but I watched various different dance routines, most of which were ballet. I did also watch White Nights with Gregory Hines, and I'm not going to remember the white dude's name. Mikhail Baryshnikov? Yeah. And Gregory Hines, that's just saying, I forgot the other guy's name. And my youngest daughter was a huge fan of Sabian Glover, who was a tap dancer, but tap was fascinating, but I never really wanted to do that. What I wanted to do was be a ballerina or a gymnast. And one year, I can't recall exactly, well, my sister and I did cheerleading when we were I think I was in 5th grade and she was in 6th grade. It was just like one year we did cheerleading, and our mom was kind of wanting us to go ahead and do cheerleading the year after that. So we had gone up there to talk to the cheer coach, and it's like, you can make the uniforms, we have the patterns, you have to buy the material and stuff, or you can buy the uniforms, and this is how much they cost. You have to buy the shoes, they have to be the specific brand, the specific color, whatnot and the other. And who knows how my life would have gone if I'd been a cheerleader instead of just being in band. But anyway, so yeah, she was like, well, I don't feel like we can really afford that. And she's like, well, you might be able to get scholarships. And then so the girls were doing gymnastics in the gym, which the cheer coach / PE teacher was instructing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I always thought that looked like it would be so much fun. So she had me get up on the trampoline. I think initially I did it by myself. She taught me the right way to get up on it. She had me jump around a little bit on there and do a couple of different things. And then she had another girl get on there and had us do a couple of different exercises together. And then she had me do the side-by-side bar thingies, do a couple of flip type things on them and such. She had me walk the balance beam and do a couple of, the swoop down foot, and stuff like that. And she had me get on the mat and do like somersault. How do you feel? Oh, I feel great. Are you dizzy? No, not really. That was fun. Can I do it again? And stuff like that. At the time, I was really good at doing cartwheels until I had a cousin who taught me how to do round-offs, which are like cartwheels, only you fold your legs, or your legs aren't straight, or however you want to say it. Your arms aren't necessarily straight either. And then I could never do another cartwheel, I used to be able to do walkovers. I could do the walkover into the back bend, but I could never just stand back up after I had done the walkover. And the first several times I did walkovers, I knocked the wind out of myself. My little brother told me to do one time after I want to say I had 3 kids at the time, and he's like, "Hey, Sandy, do a walkover." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." And I tried to do it, and I was like, okay, maybe never again. But then I tried it like 3 or 4 more times and finally got it right. But that was fascinating. And I was like, maybe I should stop doing that. But yeah, so the gym teacher who was teaching gymnastics, ironically, after school, told my mom, she's like, she's really good at this. I think she has a knack for it. She's like, I don't only think that she should do cheer, I think that she should also do gymnastics after school. And my mom, was like, well, I told you, we can't afford that. And she's like, I mean, like I told you, we have cheer scholarships, we have gymnastics scholarships. She's like, I'd be willing to instruct her in gymnastics for at least a year or 2 at no cost. My mom's like, no, she has enough stuff to do. She's in band and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, I mean, dude, like 15 minutes ago, you were wanting us to be cheerleaders, but now you don't want us to do anything. Not me anyway. So that's like, I don't know. But I did find out from her after I told her that I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. I did find out from her that she had always thought that I was really pretty, and she felt that I should be able to do things that she was never able to do, such as being in beauty pageants, being a cheerleader, stuff like that. And so I was like, well, I guess I've misunderstood a lot of the stuff about my mom down through the years that I had thought about her. But anyway, I don't know if anyone's going to watch all of this. I'm sure people get tired of my rambling and they're like, 3 minutes in, let's stop watching. But anyway, I'm trying to do positive videos. I already talked about my car and all that. So I guess, I'm going to start working again tomorrow. So I won't be able to make a lot of videos. I'm going to try to post this one before the day is over, though I probably won't post it right now. Like y'all know when right now is. I don't even know when right now is because this car doesn't have a clock in it right now, and I can't see the clock on my phone because I'm recording. But anyway, don't remember if I've mentioned it or not. I'm waiting for my son to finish donating plasma. Just know that my car is running better again and everything. I'll be able to bring him to do that. So that's definitely a positive. But I'm going to go ahead and go for now. Subscribe, like my video. If there's anything at all that any of you want me to do a video on, make sure and let me know. I've been watching some videos about the upcoming season of The Masked Dancer, but I haven't done any videos on it yet because I haven't really got an idea of what any of the characters are going to be on there this season yet. So, which I've not watched a lot of stuff on it because I've been watching stuff about fixing my car. I've been watching stuff about organizing, and I've just been watching shows like shows to entertain me, and been doing other stuff. I requested board games. I don't recall if I said that or not, but I requested board games for my birthday. I think I'll do some reviews on some of the board games that I got. I sort of say, wait, my birthday, but yeah, that's what it was for. It was for my birthday. But yeah, I requested games, and I bought myself 3 because Target had a buy 2 get 1 free. Yeah, buy 2 get 1 free thing. So I did go ahead and buy some for myself, and I went from having 0 games that I knew where were to, I want to say I now have at least 12 or 13 games, and I'm waiting for one that one of my daughters bought me that I haven't actually got yet. So add a bunch of games to my collection of DVDs, CDs, and school books and books in general. But I'm going to go ahead and go for now. Everyone have a good whatever time of day or night it is in your part of the world, and stay positive.